background and doing so much. Oh, you are putting Facebook Live already?
Just doing, sir.
Yeah, Facebook Live, and because then I need to share it with the groups. And in the meanwhile, yes, we are Facebook Live. Let me share it with the groups. Give me a couple of minutes, ma'am. And
Sure,
I'm
sure.
sharing with some of the groups
Yeah.
who are keen to join here. And just a moment. And in case you want to share, uh, you can put here Global Talent TV already. You put it.
Just putting, sir.
Where's Varsha?
The side no here.
Acha, she is yet to come. We were in the office. I was doing 2 days roadmap to success program. Shruti ma'am,
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
finished and came home now. It was a 2 day program with 20 participants from different organizations. And my first paid program in 2021, because 2020 I did not do any earning at all. And it has been a tough, difficult 2020. And now this year we started, let's do some, uh, you know, paid up programs also because we are keeping our employees on,
True.
lost a lot of money by keeping
True.
employees on, but that's what I wanted to do. And I have not removed anybody from the job. I have not been able to pay full salaries, but I have paid 50% salaries to the employees and keeping them on.
But that itself is such a big gesture. I mean, when we see Mr. Bakshi, like big corporates, the way they are behaving, I
Yeah,
think that shows the largeness of people, right? Where some people with all the wealth are still acting small, and people who do not have, are just sharing what they have. I think it has 2020 brought out the best and the worst of humanity.
absolutely. And I am minus 45 lakhs in terms of paying rent, salaries, 50%.
Oh my.
And that's why I decided now from January onwards, we do some work. And I started on 6th of January, while as my programs, Women Power as well as DNA of Leadership will keep going for
Hmm.
2021 whole year.
Hmm.
And but
Sir, everything is done.
everything is done. Okay. Okay. So let us start. Just a moment. Yes, sir. Yes. Great good morning in US, Canada. Great good afternoon in Europe, UK, in Africa. I have the honor of having with me someone very versatile from South Sudan. Great good evening in Asia Pacific and late evening in Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, whosoever has joined and who will be joining now on various platforms, I welcome you all to this hashtag Women Power, a global movement, a mad statement given by me to have 1 million women around the world to be part of this platform by 2024. People call me mad. Yes, I am mad, but I'm sure it is always possible. And I am trying to spread it in almost 20 countries around the world and have this women power together on this platform by 2024. And in fact, during this COVID 2020, we have already done at least 200 programs around the world. We have covered a population of near about 800,000 people, women around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, A very warm welcome to this evening guest speaker from South Sudan. Her name is Shruti Upadhyay, who comes from India, a global Indian who is presently gender equality and peace activist at UNFPA, head of the Gender and Human Rights Unit at South Sudan. I have had the pleasure of meeting this young, dynamic, multitasked, multi skilled, multi-dimensional, multinational women power in Mazar-e Sharif in Afghanistan in 2017. When I was there along with team of trainers, all women except me and Il Narula from Bangkok, who has also joined, I can see him already here, two of the men and another six women to train UN women led program called Transformational Leadership for 60 top women leaders of Afghanistan, where we say there are no women leaders, there are 500 women leaders, 60 top women leaders, senators, ministers, member of parliaments, directors, and secretaries of government. What an amazing experience we had, and we can still never forget that experience of life. This has been the experience of life. And this ma'am, Shruti Upadhyay, was at that time head of the gender equality program at UN Women at Afghanistan. First of all, let me give my great welcome to this women power, Shruti Upadhyay. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bakshi. I'm honored to be part of this movement that you have initiated, and humbled to hear your voice and the words that you have shared about me. Uh, I think, as we were talking a few seconds ago, uh, this movement requires so many men and boys to join the movement that you have started. And I'm sure by 2024, we will have uh, thousands and hundreds of thousands men also joining this movement, that who say that equality is in the benefit of all, not only just women and girls, but it's in the benefit of the society as a whole. So I'm humbled to be part of this movement, Mr. Bakshi, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my journey.
Fascinating. Shruti ma'am, let me have the pleasure of introducing you first. Then I will share some of the questions I have in my mind. And people who have joined on various platforms, they will park their questions and I will facilitate the process of requesting our guest of honor for responding to the questions. And those who will become on Zoom, probably I will give them an opportunity directly to ask the questions. And ladies and gentlemen, first of all, a great happy new year 2021 after a tough 2020. And please decide to make 2021 as the best year of your life. I have taken a decision to make my 2021, along with my family and my colleagues and my company, Global Talent, to be best year of life. And I wish you make this statement of intent and share with everybody you meet, everybody you text, everybody you write, so that the message gets spread and the universe responds back to us with that intent of really making this year great. Let me introduce Shruti. She is a social justice rights and development professional with 19 years of experience in the complex development and humanitarian context across Asia, Middle East, Eastern Europe, and South Africa. Her key expertise is in gender equality and human rights, especially addressing gender based violence, peace building, governance reform, humanitarian reforms and responses, and inclusive livelihoods. She brings extensive experience. You will yourself observe when I will be questioning her of leading small as well as large teams at national, multi country, and regional level as part of working in the government, civil society, international aid organizations, as well as United Nations. Shruti brings normative knowledge and political and diplomacy skills, experience of building sustainable programs by building robust teams from diverse backgrounds. Academically, when you look at Shruti, Masters in International Studies, Peace and Conflict Resolution, 2013-14, University of Queensland, Australia. Master of Social Work, in 2002 from Faculty of Social Work, MS University, Baroda, India. Postgraduate Diploma in Labor Practices, 1999, Faculty of Law, MS University of Baroda, India. Bachelor of Science with Food and Nutrition. I don't know how come, we'll have to ask her. As a major subject, 1995, 98, Faculty of Home Sciences, MS University, Baroda. Presently, she heads the gender specialist UNFPA South Sudan since December 2019. Her major role, her major key accountabilities and responsibilities are leading the Gender and Human Rights Unit with stand-alone programming and gender mainstream advisory support to the humanitarian teams and reproductive health unit and adolescent and youth unit, leading the UN joint program. So that means she is not only for UNFPA, so it must be a combination of UNDP, USAID, UN Women, all United Nations organizations in South Sudan. That is the huge role addressing GBV in South Sudan with 10 United Nations as members. Interagency coordination to represent UNFPA in interagency programmatic and normative work on gender and human rights, operational program management, and donor contracts management. When you look at her, she has had as a program specialist WPS governance UN Women Ukraine, regional program coordinator UN Women Office in Arab States, gender specialist UN Women Afghanistan, regional program manager Southeast Asia, and associate country director Oxfam Southeast Asia. Regional program coordinator South Asia September 21 February 2013, wherein she covered Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Program officer, acting program manager, gender, Oxfam GB from 2007 to 2010. Program officer, violence mitigation and peace building, Oxfam GB, West India. Program coordinator, gender and empowerment, UTHAN. UTHAN means raising up. And state trading coordinator, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, so on and so on. And other work related, she has been Cerebral Palsy League of Queensland, June to November 2013, Brisbane, Australia. Field assistant, Peace Fellow during November 13 to March 13. When you look at her, her job has been Women Access to Justice, Gender Equality Hub, Middle East, North Africa, Oxfam, Lebanon, Jordan, Yemen. She has had many accomplishments. And let me take you only few because her accomplishments are probably 80 to 90. But I cannot talk about that, then 1 hour is gone. She provides strategic inputs on gender and equality for programming to build Pays to Women Access to Justice program in Lebanon, Jordan, Yemen, and Iraq. Ladies and gentlemen, see the versatility of the person. Lebanon, Jordan, Yemen, and Iran. Iraq co-facilitated program in inception of women's political participation in decision-making program in MENA, Lebanon, and Jordan. Supported Lebanon, Jordan-based civil society partners to undertake strategic review of gender equality work of respective five organizations. She has had finalized many publications on impact of legal fees on women assessing justice in Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, and Yemen. She has had opportunities of working on the organizational strategy reviews and grants management, Asia World Fund, based in Nepal, working for Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. When you look at her accomplishments, there is an unending list. She facilitated the linkage between Manushar Jono Foundation, the DFID agency, and SAWF for the launch of SAWF resource mapping study on women rights. She has been, she has raised $600,000 from SDC, $300,000 from SSHF, and $200,000 from government of Norway to set up a first transitory shelter for women and girl survivors of GBV in South Sudan. She successfully advocated with the government of Sudan and UN agency protection reference group in national government COVID-19 response. She set up the first national toll-free helpline on GBV in South Sudan in response to COVID-19. I can go on and on. And some of them, she led, designed the intervention on youth engagement, on addressing reproductive health rights. She has had led the countrywide capacity needs assessment of civil society organizations and implemented findings in collaboration with Ukraine Women Fund. She facilitated gender equality audit with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, gender equality, assessment of Ministry of Justice, and action plans to the ministry and operations of various places. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to stop. I can go on and on. There's no end to this great woman who has done so much. In case I keep talking, the total time is get. I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to say. I want to make a statement because she says, and in her previous life, she used to do amateur theaters and music for social change. She says, ladies and gentlemen, understand, she says, in her previous life, she used to do amateur theaters and music for social change and co-founded a theater group called Rang Karmi. She did play like Lajo, Ketlu, Andhuran, Hu, Luchan. How much darkness can I wipe? How much darkness can I wipe that invokes dialogue on social change? I think we need to talk about that in our questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how Shruti ma'am is. This is what her background is. And therefore, when I see her into a concept of creating something unusual. आपके पास इतना धमाका कहाँ से आ रहा? How come you are so passionate and so thrilled, so excited to do so much in life? Shruti ma'am.
I think it's all about being given that opportunity, and I think yes, I have been blessed to explore those aspects in life, and I did get uh, through my journey in life, I did get several people who supported me to do my best and contribute best I can. So yes, I mean it's been an interesting journey, I would say so far.
Hi, Shruti ma'am. This is something which is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at this profile, what I have shared with you. What is the kind of profile this one package person has got, and how she has been doing this kind of a work, not only in India, almost 20, 25 countries around the world. I don't know what to say, but I am today so thrilled, so excited to meet her on this platform because we are still in DC during COVID, and meeting her personally is not possible. But on this platform, when I met her in 2017, when she came as a chief guest to our program of this women, Afghan women, transformation leadership. Please park your questions. And in the meanwhile, I am going to start my questions with Shruti ma'am. Hi, Shruti ma'am. My question, first question to you is, today you are such a woman of substance, or I call you women of excellence, or I call you women of action, or I call you women of multitasking. But tell me, this package of women of excellence, women of substance, women of action, and women of multitasking, you are from a middle class family, a small town. What has been your childhood? I would like to know about your parents, grandparents, mentors who were involved in growing you and nurturing you to the level what you are today. Ma'am, for you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking this question. You know, most of the times we don't really reflect upon what made us, who made us what we are today. And as you said, yes, I come from a middle class family, growing up in a very small town, border town in India, Gujarat, and my father was a head clerk in a bank. Mother was a high school teacher, and growing up, my childhood was not very different from the outside. It was not very different from what you see in a regular middle class households in India. So growing up in a working class parents, having a maternal grandmother who is taking care of children and mentoring them through childhood to adulthood, all my extended family relatives living in that small town. So a very close knit kind of a family, but also a very traditional family in a traditional setup, who usually doesn't go out of that small town much. So when you look at it from the outside, I didn't have much different childhood. But I think when you look at it from inside, what was going on inside my house, that is what was different. Um, the the level of openness and opportunity that were being given inside my home, that were very different from what you see a household in 70s and 80s of a small town Indian town. um, like my parents would never scold me for if I have done something wrong. I was a very angry and rambunctious child. So I would pick up fights left, right, and center. I would, whenever I would see any injustice being done, what I saw at that time as an injustice, I would take it on head on with that person, and I would like to fight it out at that time itself. And for being a girl who is so angry and who doesn't mind picking up fights with no matter who, be it a child or an adult, it's something that is seen as a shame, in a middle class family. So in my surrounding, in my families of friends, etc., what I always saw was they were always being prescribed with what a girl or a boy should behave like, what they should look like, how they should carry themselves. That's not something that was ever given to me. So I grew up seeing uh, a very non traditional household in a very traditional setup of a society and the small town. I grew up seeing my mother, who was a working woman, working hard, a grandmother who was who became a widow at the age of when my mother was 2 years old, and she educated herself because during those times in the 1950s and 40s of India, the girls never educated themselves as much and were getting married as soon as they would, enter uh, 15, 16 years old max. And at that time, when she became a widow, my grandmother went back to school by working as a cook and domestic help to several households. And then she went on to become a primary school teacher. So I grew up listening to these stories of grit and trying to break the traditional norms of how and what a girl or a woman should behave. I also saw my father, always being supportive. In the 70s of India, you wouldn't see a father who is keeping the vegetables. I mean, chopping the vegetables or cleaning the house and keeping things ready for your wife when she is leaving for school at 7:30 in the morning. But I grew up seeing that, and that is where I think for all the we are three siblings and I was the middle child. So growing for all three of us, that was a big lesson. You observe and you see what different uh, different kind of a learning that's being provided. I think after growing up, and this is about I mean one of those dialogues. So when I was growing up, I studied in a government school till third to fourth standard, and the quality of government schools in India is not great in terms of the quality of education, and certainly not at that time. I don't know much about now, but I don't, from what I see, not much has greatly changed. And and that was a Gujarati medium school, right? And After growing up, I mean, I have a younger brother, and by the time my brother was born, there was a little money saved with my parents that they could have sent my brother to a private school or quote unquote an English medium school. In India, English is not just a medium of instruction, it defines the social class, right? So my parents at that time decided that no, my brother will also go to a Gujarati medium school because they did not want me and my sister to ever feel that he was given a preferential treatment just because he was a boy.
Oh,
And when I was telling my mother, why didn't you send him to a private school? She told me, you are asking this question only because we did not send him to a private school. If we had sent him, you would have received the message that you are a lesser person. And I think these kind of messages really instill that idea of justice, that idea of equality in you. And I think in day to day life, I grew up seeing those and experiencing those. And I'm grateful that my parents never questioned me for my decisions. Even if I would pick up a fight, they would say, maybe you could approach it slightly differently, beta. Try to have a dialogue. Fight is not the answer. Picking up physical fights or getting angry is never going to bring you a solution. Dialogue is the only way. So I think those are the kind of lessons that instilled the idea of justice and rights and the uh, the appreciation of dialogue versus having a very high-headed kind of attitude. So I would say yes, I've been blessed with, a very non-traditional way of living, but within a very traditional kind of a setup. So it's possible, to, if you give that space to your child, to just be whoever she is, then she would explore the facets that otherwise she may not have.
Shruti, fantastic. That means even after getting so much from the parents, supporting and having that kind of gender equality approach, and she especially talked about that, has been fascinating. And that means that upbringing of a child is impacted her so much, and that is what she is today. Big round of applause to your parents. Shruti, ma'am, when I understand the role of a woman, tough situation in that time, still there are countries where we have tough situations of our women. That's where we talk about gender equality, SDC goal number 5 of United Nations. And when I look at your life, and then I see your life wherein ending up a relationship to become a single woman. I'm going to something very personal as a woman because, ladies and gentlemen, and especially women who are watching right now, understand the dynamics of a woman who had challenges but mitigated challenges to be the women of excellence. This is a key learning which you will pick up from you this discussion. So, coming to that, how tough, how difficult it was for you, and you have had much of guts and galore with so much of stress, stress, and strain and emotional disaster. Even then, moving to a goal and a mission, what makes Shruti to be that different? What do you do yourself in shaping your own destiny, ma'am?
Yeah, I think as you said, Mr. Bakshi, that's a very personal kind of a journey that I had during that time. And, no matter what uh, kind of childhood that you've had, and I mean, and as I shared, I've been blessed with a very supportive set of parents, grandparents. And despite that, so growing up, I finished my master's, and at that time, it was a rule for all three children that no matter what, you would for your graduation and masters, you would go to a hostel and study so that you learn to be independent. And that's how I left home and I was sent to a hostel so that I become an independent
Ah,
person. So when I finished my masters, I saw, like, in my surrounding, all my friends getting married. And in Indian society, even a boy, so leave aside, for girls, you are brought up with the idea of whether what you are doing will be acceptable to the potential groom or the bridegroom or not. I mean, especially for girls. So, what you are doing, whether you are studying too much, then it should not be, because then, the man's family would not be happy with it. If you are studied too less, then again, your value in the marriage market will go down. You should be looking like, in a certain box. You should be laughing in a certain way. You should be behaving in certain way. So, in especially in the society that I come from, um, the children are always growing up with this idea of how their value will be in the marriage market. So, also, with all the openness that I had in my childhood from my family, it still had that subconscious, unconscious kind of uh, uh, it had been instilled in me by my peer group, by the society, from what you see around you, by the TV and films that promote the kind of the idea of woman or a man. So when I was getting married, actually, my grandmother, so you go after the marriage, the bride and the bridegroom are supposed to go and touch the feet of all the elders. So we went to my grandmother, who was at that time 78, 79 years old. And she tells me that, beta, any relationship requires a sacrifice. But the moment you feel that your self respect is being targeted, come back. This is and will always be your home. And little did I know that those words would have such a profound impact on me. Uh, so when I was going through a marriage that was not working out, we were very different personalities, very different persons, and it had started turning abusive. And because I was told how to to do everything possible to just maintain that relationship even if it's not working out, um, those words really came to my help. And in fact, it was my parents, my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, and by then my grandmother was no more, but her words of advice were always with me. And those helped me they helped me to say, yes, you make a compromise till a certain level, but not at the cost of your own self, not at the cost of your self respect. And that's when I ended the relationship. It was not, I mean, and I'm talking about 20 years back, the ending relationships was not something very common in small town India. It still isn't very common, but still now the acceptability is much more. So for my family to face that, oh, you are sending your daughter to work in so many places and she is going around as a social activist from village to village, and maybe that's why she is now no longer wanting to take care of the family and the house. And facing those questions, those doubting eyes, my family continued to support me. Never even once did they tell me that, Shruti, never even once did they tell me that, Shruti, think about it. They trusted my my decision, that if I am taking this decision, I would have already given it a thought. I don't need to give it one more thought to it. And they respected that decision. And in my surrounding, obviously these questions were coming. I had by then left. I was living in a small village, working as an activist. But at that time, just facing those questions and those doubting eyes, they acted as a kind of, I would say, a barrier against those doubting questions, saying, will you get her married second time? My parents would say, it's her choice. She is working, she has a mind of her own, she would think about it and she will take her own decisions. You don't need to worry about it. And I think that's where it was such a support for me to believe again that, yeah, what I'm doing is where I am headed and I am in charge of my life. Obviously, the friends, even now, like, a few days back, I reconnected with a friend from childhood, and her question was, oh my God, as if, somebody had died. Oh my God, you left you have, no, her exact words were, oh my God, you have no family? So I just smiled and I said, no, I am my own family, and I have a family that's, my parents, my brothers, sisters. I mean, so, that the idea that family is only of a certain type and is of a certain composition, it still remains. But having that kind of a immediate support system always helps you to fight back and say, no, I am redefining the definition of family, you know so yeah, it's been a tough journey, but it's been all well worth it. Looking back, I wouldn't change a thing from those things that happened to me 20 years back.
Incredible story of a woman power who could finally decide that in case it comes to self respect, you need to take a call. Ladies who are watching now must understand that at a certain stage of time, how long one can pace those situations. And the grandmom had spoken these words when she visited her, and it was in her back of mind. And finally, she decided to go against the society. Many eyebrows, as she said, were raised. That too, when she was doing the role of an activist. And she redefines her family as a family which is not only her brothers, sisters, parents, but there's a larger family. Millions of people she is contributing directly and indirectly in multiple countries. She has been born, and people are blessed to have her support, her programs, her modules, her whatever she does in terms of putting manuals together and directing, administering, managing, leading many things, which is for the benefit of a woman. Wow. Amazing. I call it incredible. And Shruti ma'am, when I look at you and I see that you started from a very ordinary activist, but then slowly, you started a journey of giving, gratifying, and I especially talk about your Uthan days, a civil society movement on building social change and working on violence mitigation and peace building. I am very keen, and probably audience will be very keen to know about your story, which must have given you huge courage of conviction, courage of confidence, courage of crafting those things with all odds across.
Yeah. Mr. Bakshi, when we say, community organizer, I think whatever I did as a community organizer, as a grassroots person, that is the the fertilizer that's actually helping me to do the policy work that I'm doing today. If I look back, I would say it's the community organizers in the development sector. Also, if you are talking about the corporates, it's the shop floor workers. They are the ones who are the backbone, who are the ones who are going to define the quality. So when I was working with first with Kutch Mahila Vikas Sangathan, where I really got the opportunity to learn about my own district, right? Because that's the largest district in India, but the second most sparsely populated district, because it's a very very harsh living conditions. But I was growing up as a middle class kind of a quasi urban girl. I had never even visited those villages to see what is the situation of women and men in those areas, and also come to appreciate the resilience that they have. I mean, Kachis are known for their resilience and grit, but when I saw that with my own eyes and worked with those women, is when I realized that, when as social activists, when we go, or even as the policymakers and policy development supporters or diplomats like me, what we forget is that the community people, women and men, that's where the real wisdom lies. So what we fail to look at is at times listen to them. So the challenge is not in them, the challenge is in us, somewhere we are not able to hear. So when I was working with Utthan, so after Kashmir Vikas Sangathan, because of marriage, I had moved city. And then again, I was working as an activist. I had left the government job because I wanted to go back to working in the grassroots. That's when I also understood that gender is not just about a battle of sexes. You know, it's not just about men versus women. My experience, I mean, I come from quote unquote an upper caste uh, um, Indian woman, Hindu woman identity, right? And my experiences would be very different from a Dalit or a Muslim or a Christian minority in India. My experiences would be very different from a non-literate woman living in a far off rural area. So when I was working in Utthan, that's when the 2002 Gujarat riots took place, and that's when I really got to see that I also need to learn about my privileges. You know, coming from an upper caste, quote unquote upper caste, because there isn't anything like upper or lower, but what Indians would define as upper caste, it comes with privileges. And you need to understand that if we need to move, if we want the country and the world to move forward, then we need to really look at the idea of gender and the women and men inequality also with the intersectionality of identities. So when we talk about, I mean, and that's when I started working with the women and men's collective also, but women's collective largely of to bring them together despite these different identities and making that unified voice that we have experiences that unify us despite our religious, caste, class, ethnicity differences, which the society would always want us to continue because that's where patriarchy benefits from. So building those collective of women from different diverse collectives and societies is where I would say I gained so much learning because those were the women who were then going and negotiating uh, spaces with big corporates for prawn cultivation, building up indigenous seed banks, you know, setting up their own sanitary marts. And I was, you know, there was one woman who came back. You know, we used to have federation meetings, and she would say, you know, my husband was beating me a lot, and he asked me that to get out of the house. I just took the keys of the toilet that I had built because, you know, in the sanitary mart was set up to set up the sanitary toilets through the women's collective. I'm talking about 2002 3. um, and she said, I took up the keys and I said, okay, fine, you are not going to the toilet today because that is built by me. And you know, I mean, those are empowerment, and those are the real as they say, heroes and sheroes, you know, that are driving the change at the grassroots. And I think that's where I met so many amazing women who are leading that change ground up. They may not be known, they may not be sitting in the positions of power, but they are the ones who are driving the change.
Beautiful. The heroes and the sheroes of that grassroots level. And that is where we all need to learn today that when I am talking about a multifaceted, multinational, multicultured, multitasked, multi-skilled leadership qualities of Shruti ma'am, and she beautifully said that she worked as a volunteer at the grassroots level and connected closely with them to make sure that she gets that missioning done, which mission has been taken. And with that experience, which she says has been profound experience for her to be what she is today. Now, today, when she is in Yemen or Sudan or Afghanistan or Bangladesh, tough countries, and she is making policies, she is making manuals, she is making administrative norms, and she is creating and crafting the essence of their development. That experience is what made her to learn to be what she is today.
Very much.
Amazing. Amazing, ma'am. We met very short time that time. We could not meet because you came in rush, you had a flight to catch, you inaugurated, and you left.
Yes,
I
yes.
wish I would have spent more time with you. Shruti, ma'am, going forward in your career, of giving, and you are even now giving. You led South Asian Development Programming of Christian Aid to develop an inclusive economic development initiative with some of the most marginalized communities in India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, to set up cooperatives and for profit companies for farmers, honey collectors, milk producers, and in these countries. This would have been a totally different experience for you. And what were the key learnings from this aspect of your journey?
I think, yeah, that's when I moved to, expand my learning from India, though India in itself is so diverse. Um, but taking that learning, we are still, in that diversity also, we are still one country, right? So when I took on the work at the South Asia level, uh, there are two things. I think there are commonalities that I found, and there are differences that I found. So the commonalities that I found, so it was, in India, we were working with the tribal communities in Orissa, in Rajasthan, we were working with the honey collectors, in Bihar with in Purnia with Muslim women, in Bangladesh with Muchi Hindu minority women, in Sri Lanka with Tamil minority uh, community, men and women both. Now, what was common that I saw across in these countries was that the conviction and the commitment for collective action exists. Yeah, and people were willing. They were the ones across the board in all the four countries. We saw that there is that wisdom, there is that conviction, there is uh, that mission for the communities to take it forward by themselves. They need just a little external support, but they know the path. We are not the ones to give them answers. They have the answers. Our role is to play that facilitative role in supporting them to find those answers, whatever decision they take. What I found different in these countries, um, uh, okay, and one more thing that I found very similar was I met with some of the most very strong, very powerful women across in all the countries. What I saw different was that they um, the administration is obviously different because each country operates in a different way. Um, what I also saw different was that, in some countries there were a slightly better infrastructure. For example, Sri Lanka had better infrastructure. Yeah, so in terms of setting up the cooperatives, etc., it was slightly easier from that perspective. But from the perspective of administrative logjam, I think all of them would fare nearly the same. Um, but and again, I should clarify here that because I'm an international diplomat, what I'm sharing are my uh, personal reflections. Yeah, they are not related to any institutional institutional uh, formal political uptake. So I think more than the differences, what I saw was the similarities between these countries. Women were suffering from gender based violence in all the countries. Women were also fighting them out in the same way in all the countries. Once in Bangladesh, actually, I wanted to understand what leadership means because we are discussing about leadership now. So I went and I spent 1 to 2 days with each women leaders, the women who are not necessarily sitting in the positions of power only. Some of them were. Like there was a woman who was nominated for the 1,000 Women Nobel Peace Prize in 2005. She was nominated as for the Nobel Peace Prize. So from there to women who are just making the difference in the community. And what came out so profoundly while working with these women through women's collectives was that they are silently changing things. They are not waiting for others. They are not waiting for men. They are not waiting for governments to come and do things for them. They are taking charge of it and they are taking care of it. Now it's up to the up to people like us. How much support can we provide for that transformational leadership? So I think, yeah, those were the the main similarities that I saw and the differences that I saw in different countries. But I should say that there were much more similarities than the differences. Obviously, the differences being the cultural differences, etc. They were different. So obviously, the approach to cultural approaches are different, but the similarities are much more higher than the differences are.
Wow. Ah, you are an advocate of women rights, social change. When I was going through your spread of 2 decades of experience in different countries, regions, continents, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Eastern Europe, East Africa, then especially Afghanistan, Yemen, Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, Jordan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, South Sudan, Ukraine, Vietnam. That's why I said in the beginning, you're a package of varied experience of cultures, nationalities, religions, faiths. This package, by the name of Shruti, I will call you, uh, what should I call you? A packet, a chota packet, bada dhamaka. You are exactly like that. Shruti ma'am, people around the world in these countries must be recognizing you as one of the most graceful, glorious persona in the global world. And I'm going to share it in the world. It is going to be going to the world. People will keep on looking at it and getting to know about this. That's the objective of this program, that people should know about what an ordinary woman from a small town in India can do, and do it almost half of the world what she has been doing. My admiration is going to be more and more for a person of this level. I am asking here, tough things do not last long, tough people long. This is precisely the power in you. The women power, Shruti, making things to happen with guts, grace, glory, becoming a graceful glory of yesterday's girl power, now a women power. How do you feel as an individual that you have contributed? What has made you to be that impactful, to build communities, to build policies, procedures, guidelines, irrespective of looking at those people who have gone through distress, emotional disasters? Who were the people who could give you this guidance or mentoring in this journey, in this process of moving forward? And I am very keen to know from you your motivational fit, which keeps you going on as a graceful woman in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Bakshi. In fact, while we were discussing, I've shared with you some of the my inspirations, the women who uh, across the continents who have uh, shaped my understanding, and also the humility to understand that we all are contributing in some way or the other to make the change that we want to see in terms of a better world for everyone. um, and you rightly said, I mean, no one can do it alone. And uh, uh, I have been blessed to have those people, both in terms of people who have supported and also the people who have questioned my 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 work, because they have also contributed in terms of giving me that power, because they the reason why they were questioning is an indicator that they were considering me, right? You won't question what you don't consider. So yes, both the people who were supportive, I think my family, my extended family, my uncles, aunts who have faced, I mean, now I'm in my late 40s, right? But at that time, when facing all these 20 years saying, oh, but your girl, I don't know what is she doing, growing around in the war zones and difficult places, living by herself, these questions are tough. So I mean, for my family, my sister, my brother, their families, my parents, besides them, in my professional journey, I had um, my teachers, my teachers like Lena ma'am, when I was sick, when I was, I mean, she would literally guide me through how to do casework, how to do group work. My organization mentors like Sushma Iyengar, Nafisa Barot, because they were the ones who taught me what it means and how to build democratic institutions. How do you build inclusive dialogue institutions? Because these organizations um, have seen their own change of leadership. And how do you not hold on to those leadership and give space for the young blood to come in? Those were the ones who actually showed me the way. I should also say that I've had friends who were always very supportive when I was going through my divorce, my personal journey, who always were supportive to me in terms of, again, not letting me break down, because it was a breakdown point to a great degree. Because, I mean, one is never, in our cultures, you believe that it's for the life, but it's not. And there is a life so much more beyond that. So friends who have been supportive, some of the friends who actually taught me the fundamentals of human rights and justice, Tulika, Madhavi, Avinash, Sajid. I mean, so many friends. I wouldn't be able to, Huma, I mean, the ones who actually taught me what the policy framework should be, what human rights mean in daily life, because human rights are not about, some sentences in books. They are a way of life. And I think looking at these people's work on the ground, that's what I learned, what it is to be a human rights activist, to be a gender equality advocate, because seeing them breaking those stereotypes actually helped me gain that strength to break those stereotypes in my own life. Because we all have, it's like peeling onions, when you talk about gender equality, we have to break those stereotypes within us. So they have been, I would say, my uh, partners in just helping me uncover those aspects of stereotypes that also reside within all of us. My colleagues, like, are some of the colleagues that we know common between us, right? So my team in Afghanistan, my team in Southeast Asia, uh, we were talking about Fahimi, right? I mean, so they are the ones who teach you what that culture is, what works, what doesn't work, what how do you find the third way of dialogue on gender equality, which is culturally appropriate. And I think all across the world, from Southeast Asia, which has a completely different cultural ethos, to Afghanistan, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, which has completely different cultural milieu, to Eastern Europe, Ukraine, I mean, so those colleagues, I think, have been uh, my inspiration. And as you were saying, I am giving, but I think I am getting as much as I am giving, or perhaps I'm getting much more than what I am giving. So it's a give and take of learning and making the change. And I'm humbled to have been given this opportunity by life.
Aha! We call it aha. That is what comes to my mind when I hear this great woman talking about those people who questioned me actually considered me. And then she talks about these people who are various colleagues in various countries, different cultures, different nationalities, different religions, different issues, different challenges, but they have been a great partner to her. And she says they have been inspiration. When I was talking to Hassan Haim the other day, he's in London, I said, Shruti ma'am is what she said. He said, oh my God, I'm excited. I have learned a lot from her. The level of leadership qualities which she is exhibiting and sharing is an inspiration to me. I am a leadership coach. I do a lot of programs on leadership, but here is some of the dynamics of those who question me are considering me. What a beauty, turning that into positive framework of life. And the people who are, I am not giving, I am getting. You know, I always say, turn scars into stars.
That's
Here
beautiful.
is,
Yeah.
here is a women power, turning those scars into stars by doing things which is unknown, unheard, unbelievable in environments which is tough, difficult, challenging, countries where there has been huge amount of violence, not only, I mean, country violence, even domestic violence, and otherwise also. And the genders, especially women, suffering in these countries. And then getting into remedial measures, mitigating the processes, putting the framework together, and not only planning, delivering, checking, acting, complete execution process, and moving on to the next assignment, moving on to the next assignment, moving on to the next assignment, different challenges. I have also worked in 18, 19 countries, ma'am, and I also do programs and so much. But I think your experience is much stronger, deep rooted, to the level of complete penetrating on the ground and coming out from the ground like I am turning my scars into stars. And that is what I can say. Whatever scars you had, the pain is turned to gain. And you are a gainful woman today. Now I come to another tough situation of life which entire human race has faced, COVID-19, which took away our 2020. And you have been at a very important position. I have seen in your profile, you've done a lot of work. What were two or three things different which you did under this UNFPA, where you have a mandate of 10 United Nations organization in South Sudan? Give me a couple of things which you did with COVID-19 during the 2020 process. I call it BC, before COVID. I call it
Yeah.
DC. We are still in DC. And I don't know, we will be soon, we are at the fag end of DC now, we'll be soon in AC after COVID. What were those things you did differently for the human race?
I, I think you articulated it so lucidly, Mr. Bakshi, that I mean 2020 has been such a rude awakening, I would say, for all of us, for a humanity. You know, where our priorities lie. What is it that matters to us as a human race? I think this 2020 has been a lesson on that, and we were just discussing before the 5 minutes when we started discussing informally, and what you were sharing, that you know uh, you have not laid off any of your staff. You have maintained your team despite not earning anything during that period. I mean, that is what kind of leadership we need. We are also seeing very high, big, you know, big corporates are recording record profits and laying off people, and putting exploitative work conditions. And here are people like you who are making that change. So I think, again, you know, coming back to that, who is it that's making that change? So 2020, I think, brought out the best and the worst of humanity. And in this period, I mean, in South Sudan, you know, in terms of the numbers, we didn't see as much numbers, but you know, the health infrastructure is very, very poor in country. And the gender-based violence, though it's and across the world we have seen that the gender-based violence has grown exponentially. So what we did here was, with all the UN agencies coming together, uh, again bringing all of them together to set up the hotline services, because the penetration of mobile services, etc., is fairly decent. So you know, so that at least women who are in the vicinity of the perpetrators locked up inside the house have some means of communicating that the signal of distress, the support they need. We continued the life-saving services of uh, of gender-based violence survivors. The sexual violence rates have gone exponentially high across the world, and here too. So again, you know, providing those reproductive health rights services, providing guidance to the youth and adolescents, because suddenly they don't have anywhere else to go. They don't know what to do with themselves in this lockup period. Their livelihoods are lost. So working with these UN agencies again to set up those youth centers where the youth can still come together following the COVID guidelines, but have a productive engagement, which at least dissuades them from getting into destructive behaviors and measures. Working with again working with the government very closely to set up the legal provisions, because here like I mean we still do not have the anti-GBV law. So working with the government to ensure that those measures are in place to move forward the policy frameworks, because so that's the kind of work, and my focus has been on supporting the services on the ground, at the same time ensuring that our policy and policy frameworks are supportive of those actions. So for me, they are not program, and none of the development worker can afford to see them as one project to other project to other project. They are all a composite universe, and they all come together like a jigsaw puzzle of social development. So that's what has been the focus in past 1 year. It's been a very tough year, and I'm sure it's been much more tougher for people like you who have been holding the fort, um, and for the communities who have lost the livelihoods, who have lost the 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 trauma of going through the the challenges of COVID-19. I think what we have tried to do from UNFPA, and what I have tried to do from my I would say my office, my position of work, is to build that support services on the ground, working with our partners. So at least for us, we continued working with our partners. We have reached out to all the development aid partners, saying this is not the moment that we can ever afford to give up. This is actually the moment where we have to even uh, put more efforts than before to ensure that health, education, social development, they get the budget what is needed. Wars and weapons can wait.
Uh, Wars and weapons can wait. These are the steps for the social development for the community, and wars and weapons can wait. What a powerful statement you gave, Shruti. When you are sitting in South Sudan, you're looking at India. What do you think India has done in 1.3 billion population, lowest mortality rate? How do you see India facing COVID-19? And also today, 90 countries around the world requesting India, because India is becoming suddenly human race healer around the world. How do you see India from there?
No, I think that's a very, very important question, or a dialogue, Mr. Bakshi. And what I see, the India's role, I mean, the way India has always followed this policy of being supportive to other countries. So when we are seeing so many countries trying um, to be inward looking, India is sharing the 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 solution with the world, right? I mean, even in South Sudan, we see South Sudan, South Africa, in the southeastern Africa's context, I'm saying. Myanmar received COVID-19 vaccines day before yesterday, right? So send, I mean, Bhutan, Nepal, I mean, obviously the neighbors, but also around the world, Morocco. So, I mean, around the world, India is leading by example, that the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is our family. The humanity is our family. There is no you versus me. There's no us versus them. So that's the and I'm very proud to be an international diplomat from India, because India has had that diplomacy um, from 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 so many years. Now we are a 70-year-old democracy, and we have set that example right from the start, where we have talked about being uh, being a supporter of internationalism, multilateralism, development of me cannot be complete without development of you. So I'm very, very proud to see the way India is forging and reaching out and supporting all the countries. And I mean, we have been considered, we are known as the pharmaceutical factory of the world, right? So I mean, I'm very, very proud as a person coming from India, that we are reaching out and considering the world as our family and not just our one country. Obviously, to the people we are already working, to our
Very good.
country.
One world, one family, one human race, one love. Vasudev Kutumb of India, proud Indian diplomat in Syria's, Iraq's, Sudan's, Bangladesh's, Afghanistan's. I think, people must be thinking what kind of personality you have in front of you. Yes, she is. And she has done so much in these countries and made India also proud. Here is, ladies and gentlemen, such a persona of women of guts, galore, grace, talking to us and sharing, yes, India has got today. Now, before I go to the last question, I have one question. What is your two quick messages to the women around the world for COVID?
Uh, for the women around the world, I would say don't give up, hang in there. We we have come through the thousands of years of challenges. This is one, we will overcome it. And yeah, so I would say hang in there, we shall overcome. And for the women, I would also say know the power within, because it's the power within who will change the power over.
Ladies around the world, understand what this women of elegance, women of grace, guts, galore is talking about. Never ever give up. And you are a women power, she says. And that is where we are today. My last question. I am a crazy man on this mission of 1 million women to be together on this platform by 2024. Many women around the world are part of it. I can see the women power in charge, the head of chapter Spain. Melanie is also there watching us. All these Melanies and these Sonals and this Afghanistan woman called Farouk and many other women are making a difference to this movement. Now, what do you think about this women empowerment finally? What do you think about my movement?
Mhm.
And yeah,
You are crazy, right? I think it's only crazies who have ever changed the world, Mr. Bakshi.
absolutely.
The people who have not been crazy have never changed anything. So we need more crazies like you. And I think in terms of the women empowerment, um, as we were discussing earlier, I think women are already empowered. They
Wow,
know
I love it.
they know what they want, they know what they need. What is lacking is people who listen, people like you who amplify their voices, who make their voices heard in the world. So I think the movement that you have started of amplifying the voices of those unsung heroes is very, very timely. That's what is needed. And Um and I'm so happy and thrilled to see that a man is standing up in support of this movement. So we need many more men like you to be supporting the women's, making the women's voices be heard, be considered, and be respected in the uh, homes, in the public sphere, in the communities, in the decision making tables of highest authorities. So I would say the way I can be, I mean, I'm very excited to be part of this movement, and I would love to continue engaging with the movement, and in my uh, my formal capacity, in my organization, as well as obviously in my personal capacity as a social activist. Both ways, uh, I'm joining the movement.
So nice of you, ma'am. This is a crazy idea, and I'm sure there are many. Kiran Bedi is the first women power with us, which from where we started. And I want to tell you, in the process, I have been titled as an honorable woman by my ladies around the world.
You
So
should
this is a
wear it with
title,
a badge of pride.
and I am with full of pride. And these women in the month of July 2020, finally they honored me. They titled me as a women, honorable women, because in South Africa, in case men do something for women, they uh, you know title the man, and it was started by Sandra, who is in Mauritius, and she started this concept, and she said, let's declare DK Bakshi as an honorable woman. That's the title I'm. So I'm super excited and to see this. And in fact, UN Women had actually, I would like to give a quick background. Before COVID, you see this Varsha with me who works with me.
Mhm.
Varsha and me, we built up a program called Women Power. I would request Varsha to send that complete PowerPoint to Shruti ma'am, what was done before COVID. WOMENPOWER. This Women Power program, and titled as, this was prepared by me for the UN Women before COVID. And in fact, I am told that it was already approved as technical proposal, and unfortunately COVID destroyed. But having said that, I would love to send this document to you. You can give your inputs and you can share with wherever it is possible, because I want to contribute on this women power concept, which was built up, I think, January 2020. And it's
Mhm.
only when COVID came that Kiran ma'am said, why don't you do something on the digital mode for the time being? I never knew there would be 10, 11 months on the digital mode. Having said that, it's always a beauty of life to have people like you at your personal as well as professional capacities to support this moment, because this is falling under United Nations SDG number 5. And that is where we talk about gender equality. When you see the complete program, you will find what kind of concepts I had built up for that proposal. Having said that, I am through with my questions, but one question remains still to be there. You said you were in previous life this. What is that?
I call it my previous life because being a nomad comes also with its own challenges, right? So I'm not able to continue and pursue active theaters, music. But when I was in India, at that time, so me and set of my friends, my friend Paresh, we started um, doing theaters of uh, using forum theater methodology that was established by Ostu Ball, and basically trying to look at uh, some of the um, most fierce feminist uh, writers, progressive thinkers, and their literary productions into bringing them into a theater mode. So Rangakarmi, that's how it came into existence, and that's when I was in, when I lived in Gujarat, when I lived in Uttar Pradesh. That's when I was quite actively engaged in doing the theaters, like what we were talking about Lajo, which is Ismat Chughai's based on Ismat Chughai's story, short story that she had written. Ketlu Andharong Luchu, which is How Much Darkness Can I Wipe? That was our own original production. It was not based on any literary literary writer. Then doing the songs, because our folk songs, our music, our literature, they are filled with, they have such hidden gems that can, and as art and music and theaters is a universal language. People associate with it. So those connectors is what we were trying to build. uh, and I do miss being an active member of theater and music, but someday when I come back.
My God, what a fascinating woman with such a connect. And this music connects people. And that's what the beauty of this beautiful, wonderful women of excellence is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am through with my questions and I am looking at questions. And the first question I see is Milani Falve from Spain. Shruti, thank you for inspiring words and the work you do. And she asked a question: how do you think we can amplify women empowerment and equality by cross cultural initiatives as are at different stages in different parts of the world when it comes to these issues? Melanie.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Milani. That's such an important question. And as we were discussing about uh, the challenges that has been brought by COVID, it has also brought us some positive lessons that we can take. Right? When we talk about cross culture, earlier we always used to think about only physical meeting as the meeting. Now, virtual world has become almost a reality for all of us. Bringing together, Mr. Bakshi and I were talking about the dialogue that we had. The transformational leadership trainings that we had with 60 parliamentarians and so senators, chief of various government departments, etc. And those were physical spaces. Now, if we are to organize them, it would be it would as well start with the virtual spaces. So I think now the cross cultural, cross generational dialogues are much more, they have become part of our life. And I think that's where we could and should start already doing that cross cultural dialogue, discussing about our experiences from different spaces and places. And I think obviously physical meeting, virtual world cannot take away the beauty of connection, the physical connection. But at the same time, as we start, I think we could still be making use of the increasing use of virtual world, the increasing use of social media. That's now we see that in majority of the middle income countries, at least more than 50% of the population uses some or the other form of social media. So I think using those mediums, we would still not be reaching across to all, but at least the that movement, that interactions can intensify and amplify now.
Very great. Thank you very much. There's another question coming on another platform, and it's Sapna Arora. Sapna Arora says, Shruti ma'am, you are not only graceful, you are bold. I hear the name of Syria and Iraq and I get scared. And you, as a woman, is working, formulating policies and working with these people there. Don't you get scared? What kind of DNA you come from? Shruti Arora. Sapna
Thank
Arora.
you. Thank you so much, Sapna. Uh, there's one thing that, yes, even when I had not heard, even when I had not been to these places, I had a very um, different picture of these. The pictures that you see in news and media, because the news and the media would only show what's going wrong, right? They would not show as much about what's going right. Okay, just to give you an example, an anecdotal, when I was leaving Gujarat to work in Uttar Pradesh, and I'm sure many of our um, uh, 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 participants here, you may be either from Uttar Pradesh or have been there. My family was shocked. They were like, Gujarat is a heaven. Why would you go to Uttar Pradesh? Because they had a very different picture of Uttar Pradesh. When my family visited, that's when they realized that what you see in media is not correct, right? You don't, that's not the whole picture. So and similarly, when I went to Syria, to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to eastern Ukraine, where you see that, oh, there are wars going on, the violence against women is so high. Now I realize that actually the level of violence that the women in those places experience and what I was witnessing back home is not significantly different.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah, because it's so it's not so much about boldness. I think it was more about just being open to understand what those cultures are, and I think you would be really surprised if you ever get the opportunity to go and visit those places. They are filled with as amazing uh, cultures and life that we have in India. They are as flourishing civilizations, and uh, they show the same level of resilience and grit and the extraordinariness of the ordinary people like us.
Sapna, you got a response to your question very beautifully by great lady. Now I have got another question, which is a question. Manjeet Singh, Taneja, great program. I fully agree, and we all need to be part of it. At the same time, our collective goal is to make this world a better place where all resources and opportunities are available to all deserving people. So I which we all work for equality and equity for all of us. He's not raising, he just made a comment. And there's another question coming in, and which is from, I think, Varsha, this Amrish has lost us. I think recording is off. Just check what's going on. Have a look. Something wrong with this. So I'm going to the another this thing, and I'm looking at another question which is coming up is Anisha. Anisha, Anisha is asking, ma'am, would you like to come back to work in India after so much of struggling, tough situations? And when is going to be that?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Mr. Taneja. I couldn't agree more with you.
Anisha, oh, Anisha,
Yeah, Mr. Taneja made the comment, so thank you to Mr. Taneja for that. And yes, Anisha, I would love to come back to India someday, and I at the moment I don't know when would that be, because I think I'm a nomad, so I'm just exploring that journey of being a nomad. But but maybe in a few years time I would like to come back, and again I think that would be almost like as they say, completing the circle of life. So I would come back, not towards the end of the circle. I would come back to again come back and do some work that I have learned from different parts of the world, and again contribute to my own country. I would love doing that.
Okay, now I can unmute someone here. There's Vivek Harkoli asking a question. And Vivek, I am unmuting you. Please go ahead and ask question.
Good evening, Ms. Upadhyay. Good evening, Mr. Bakshi.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Uh, I am a avid listener and an audience to the programs conducted by Mr. Bakshi, and I think I probably have never missed maybe once one of these programs. And always in these programs, there are always a lot of learnings which I take away. Today, for me, the takeaway has been one, you have had an amazing journey, and that is something very exciting. What I have take away from your experience is one, the learning. The key word that you used was learning. The second, the experience. When you go to different cultures, you experience different things. And last but not the least, which impressed me was when you give something, you receive something. I want to dwell on this topic of giving and receiving, want to take it on a little different plane. When you give something, there is always a response, and that you want to receive something. What if you don't receive? What if your expectations, when you give something, your expectations are not fulfilled? Then you feel a little dejected. So how can one isolate that you only give but do not expect anything, or do not expect anything to be received? Can you respond to that?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Harkoli. That's a very profound question. Uh, and you've very beautifully summed up what I have to share from my experiences, that yes, learning, it's a journey. Our life is a journey. We learn, we give, and we receive. And yes, when we as you're saying that, when we do not how do you give without expecting the receiving part? In my experience, and again, at least from my life, what I have gathered is that you always receive. It may be not what you wanted to receive. So
Hmm.
it's um, more about defining from before, that if I am giving something, this is what I should be receiving. When we start defining that this is what what I should be receiving, that's where the challenges come. If we say that I would receive, it may not necessarily be what I was hoping to receive. That's when we can turn whatever that has been received into something that we would like to see it. I mean, I would share from my experience that um, there have been many incidences um, where you would be heard being said, "Oh, but I mean, she's too radical a woman. She speaks her mind." Now, those responses many a times have come when I was actually expecting being appreciated for something that I had done. But for those experiences, I with all humility would accept that it hurts. Yeah, for the first few minutes, days, it hurts. But then that's the moment when we say that, okay, I did not get what I wanted, but I got something. And I do very strongly believe that the universe has its own way of giving back. You've got to trust. I do not believe in God, and I'm not an overly religious person, but I have a faith. I do believe that in the universe, when you do good, it comes back. May not be in the form that you want, but will come back. And turning that receiving what you received into something that you would like to see in the shape and form. I think that's the journey, what I would call where all the pearls of learnings, at least for me, have come from.
Mr. Upadhyay, it's a very profound, you have explained it very profoundly. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much. And yes,
Thank
Thank
what
you
you.
you said
very,
correctly, that what you are hoping to receive, that's where the we make a mistake.
absolutely.
That's a very profound statement, what you said. Thank you very much. I wish you
Thanks.
all the best.
Thank you very much. And I got another question which has come from Jennifer from Malaysia. Ma'am Shruti, you have shown lot of courage to work in these countries and taking them forward. Which has been your best and the worst experience? Can you share? And did you ever work in our country in Malaysia? She's the women power head of Malaysia.
Um,
Her name
yeah,
is Jennifer.
actually, Jennifer, ma'am, I have worked not in Malaysia, but I have worked with some of the domestic workers unions in Malaysia. So when I was working in Cambodia, so we had domestic workers associations that, because Malaysia has a much more progressive domestic workers associations, they have much more progressive shoe factory workers association. So linking, learnings again. I think at some point we were talking about cross country, cross cultural learnings. So that's what we were trying to do, that learn from what and how the collectives of workers are working in Malaysia, and sharing those with the ones in Cambodia and Vietnam and Laos. So yes, I mean, I haven't directly worked in Malaysia a lot, but I have collaborated with some of the lawyers, because many of the cases of forced marriage, etc. Also, I've intervened, and I've had the honor to engage with some of your very very progressive lawyers in Malaysia. Now, the aspect of the worst and the best experience, and it's very difficult to define for me. I mean, you've thrown a curveball to me. um, I would say, the best experience for me is is not one, but has always been several such best experiences where, as Mr. Bakshi was saying, aha moment. When I have seen and met the women working on the ground, fighting against all odds, from no support to by the family to being called out as a witch, so that the whole village has ousted you from the village. You are not even supposed to get your food. So from those women who have still stood the ground and have said, no, I am not giving up. So
Wow.
I think my best experiences have been those women. An 8-year-old boy in Haridwar with my parents, giving me one of the most profound lessons of life,
Wow.
when he lost his 8-10 coins. In rivers in India, people throw coins as reverence, and he was a child living on the street, and his job was to collect those coins from river Ganges, which is a mighty force, right? And he there was a snake in the water, and he went and he dealt with the snake, and he lost all the 8-10 coins, and everyone was laughing, and he said, oh, but you lost all your coins. And the most profound lesson that that 8-year-old boy from the street gave me through his answer, he said, "But those coins were never mine. Those
Oh,
coins belonged to Mother Ganges, and she
oh,
decided to take it back." I mean, a child living on the street, we cry for things that don't even matter. Those 8 coins, 8 rupees for him were his 2 meals. And yet he had that ability to show the large heartedness of sharing. I mean, so I think my best experiences come from those women and men and children who have shown that strength and resilience and being able to share whatever little that they have. And yeah, and I think worst experience is yet to come. Maybe I'll will share, because I mean what I saw as worst at some point actually turned out to be the best. I thought that going through a very messy divorce was a worst period in my life. 20 years down the line, I'm sitting here and I'm saying I won't change a thing from that. So
wow.
what I saw as worst has always changed.
Wow. Jennifer, you got a response. I have to take last question because Mariam will be very upset. Mariam from Kabul, she says, ma'am, I have been part of the program which Dr. Bakshi conducted at Mazari Sharif, and I met you briefly. I never knew about so much you do in the world. What is your passion and commitment to do so much of work around the world? Mariam is working in the government as as some assistant secretary, and she met you at Mazar Sharif.
Oh, that's so lovely to meet you, Madam Mariam. And yes, I mean, as I was sharing that, we have so many unsung heroes like you. I mean, working in Mazar, Mr. Bakshi, I know what kind of challenges that you face in your daily life. I think that's what, so when you ask me the question, what drives me? What drives me on and helps me get going is that inspiration that I draw from meeting all the unsung heroes and sheroes in my day-to-day life. I mean, and that's why I say I've been blessed, and that's what drives me. So keep up the good work, and I'm so happy that we are connecting here, Miss Mariam.
Yeah, Mariam is very much connected. And you don't know, ma'am, all these women are connected. Some of them meet us in Bangkok before COVID or in Delhi, and we are connected regularly. And with these ladies, now in Afghanistan, there are near about more than 400, 500 women power who are part of my Facebook. And
Um,
this chain has built up, and they know in Afghanistan that DK Bakshi is doing this women power. So a lot of similarly in Ethiopia, in Nigeria. One day, in fact, I was supposed to go to Sudan, maybe 1.5 years back, but finally could not get into that place. At that time, there was another commitment. I would
but we should plan,
love
Mr.
to come
Bakshi.
to Sudan,
Yes.
do something there which can be a meaningful exercise for capacity building. Now, I have in Narula my director of global talent. I cannot take more questions. We are almost going to 2 hours now. You can understand the kind of a sense of gratitude I have for this wonderful lady that we kept on with so much of questions and so much of deliberations. I can still go for another 1 hour and there's no end because she is multitasked, multifaceted, multinational. So much of work she has done, grace, glory, and salute her for that. In Narula, I think you met him also. He was part of my team. He's again a facilitator and a leadership coach. I'm right now in India. He runs my Bangkok as a director of global talent company. I am unmuting him. Varsha, can you unmute him completely and on video he can come? And uh,
Sure, sir, sure.
give vote of thanks, please. Achanil Savadikap.
Sawadee ka po.
Varsha is giving you video accent.
Yes, sir, sir. I'm shifting to panelist.
Yeah, yeah.
Narula sir, you can open your video and mic also.
Okay.
Sawadika.
Sawadee How are you, Ma'am Shruti?
All well. How are you, Mr. Narula?
Doing excellent. Thank you very much. And it's a great honor once again to meet you. And seriously, after hearing you, after listening to your discourse this evening, I am left spellbound. Could never believe that you are doing such a great job. So, really, God bless you forever and always. Keep up the good work. Let me even go on to try to sum up what you said this evening. Dr. Find the sailors in Bangkok, Thailand, and perhaps talk to some of the United Nations worker and other governmental agencies and activists on women empowerment. We would love that. So that is an open invitation when the skies open up, Ma'am Shruti.
Indeed.
Well,
Looking forward.
yes. let me try to sum
We
it.
will organize that event to get her to
Yes,
Bangkok Monday. Yes.
yes, yes. Well, let me try to sum it up, sir, Dr. Bakshi. Uh, Gender-based violence has grown exponentially, and perhaps we need to educate people at the family level. And we can take Ma'am Shruti's example, Ma'am Shruti's family as an example, where there is a great level of openness, which is very important for the ladies and the girls of the family to grow. Opportunities should be given to all children so that they feel that there is equality within the family. There is no prejudgment or prescription of how boys and girls should behave, and parents have to be very careful. Parents should set good example so that kids can follow. So we can call that parenting by examples. And if I may add at this point in time, before a couple get married, maybe the government should make it mandatory that they go to a workshop where they learn. The husband would learn how to be a good husband, and the ladies would learn how to be a good wife. And not only that, sir, they should also learn when they have babies how to take care of babies, how to take care of children, so that we can once and for all mitigate gender-based violence. There is a hope there, and that's very important. And these are the other things that we have learned. Limit reptilian habits. Men tend to be more violent than women, so we need to limit that through education. uh, Increase awareness that after all, women are the genders of the mother, and we love our mother dearly. It's because of the mother that we are here today. Again, create warmth and love within the family. And I love your words, Dr. Bakshi. Turn scars into stars. It's not too late. We can begin now. Turn around the habits and be a great person. Be a good example for the world. Wherever you are in the world, there will be both similarities and differences. Ma'am Shruti very wisely, very courageously, very gracefully chose to stress and focus on similarities and move on for a better understanding of the world. And we need to learn from the floor. We need to learn from people at the grassroots level, meaning we need to redefine ourselves. We need to change ourselves so that we become a better listener. And let us all redefine family as recommended by Vasudev. One world, one family, one human race, one team, readiness to forgive and move on. And lastly, India is the farmer of the world. We are very proud of Indians. And India is leading the world by example. Thank you and Jai Hind. Thank you, Ma'am Shruti. Really enjoyed the discourse. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, sir.
Kapun Mark Rakab, Kapun Kab Achan.
Kapun.
Thank you so much. Achan is like professor in Thailand. We call professor in, and we I- we are now almost through with our this thing. Ladies and gentlemen, what an amazing guest of honor I had this evening, who has shared her journey of excellence, graceful, tough, difficult, but graceful journey of excellence, multifaceted, multinational, multicultural, multidimensional, from an ordinary family, from a small town from India, and grown and still going, growing, and glowing. Going, growing,
This one.
and glowing. I wish you all the best in your endeavors, Shruti ma'am. It is excellent and a wonderful session with you. We have gone almost 2 hours. पता ही नहीं चला. I did not even know about it. This YouTube, I am thankful to Varsha. I don't know, something happened in between, recording got closed, and Amarish, probably some internet issues, but YouTube will be prepared, and you can share with the world. I'll be sending it to you. Thankful to Varsha, thankful to Amarish, thankful to Achanan, thankful to all the audiences around the world who will be joining and looking at this video later. Amazing personality of a great person called Shruti. And I will say, simply humble, rich, unparalleled talent, intelligent, talented intelligence, simply healthy, happy, rich, unparalleled, unique rather, talented individual. That is what Shruti man you are. I would love to meet you soon, whether we meet somewhere in Sudan or any part of the world, because you will keep on moving from one place to other place. But we should remain in touch. Proud to salute such a great woman.
We are together.
And many respects and regards from the core of my heart.
And
Thank
the
you so
same from Bangkok, Thailand, and from the whole world. We wish you the very best in your endeavor.
Thank you. We are all in this together, in this movement together.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, rather evening now, and wish you all the best. Let's remain in touch. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am going off. Enjoy this session whenever you have opportunity, and you will find someone extraordinary on this show. Thank you so much being with me on the show. Wish you all the best and great good luck, Shruti ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you and bye-bye.